Hi everyone, my name is David White and I'm the Content Marketing Director at connective3. But I just want to share something which I was thinking about just 5 minutes ago while getting the train back from the office. And that's when to think like a marketer and when not to think like a marketer. Specifically, I'm going to talk about digital PR ideas. My kind of theory is that when you're thinking of the idea, when you're thinking of the concept for the client or the brand or whoever, you shouldn't think like a marketer. You should think like somebody who follows them, who would buy from them. And then when you come to actually execute and outreach the idea, it is at that moment you need to start thinking like a marketer. Now, when I was heading up the digital PR team at Branded Free, I was always taught to do the pub test. So this is something that Laura Crimmins, who was my manager at the time, would talk about quite regular. Do the pub test. So if you started a conversation around the pub table with your friends and families, many of who don't work within marketing, would they talk about it naturally? And if so, is there something there then that we can create to go to the media? And it is that kind of natural conversation that we are trying to capture within our digital PR ideas. Too often we think like marketers at that very moment, and we look at the competitors or competition and we say, look, they've done X, Y, and Z, or we know that this person has done something and it's worked really well, so we should replicate that, we should do that. And I'm not saying that that's a bad idea, because often, taking trends such as indexes or surveys or whatever works. But really, if you want to stand out and do something that's super relevant for the brand and actually is going to be a bit unique and deliver results, you need to step away from the mindset of being a marketer and think like a customer or somebody just generally within the public who doesn't have a marketing mindset. I'll give you an example, and I put this on my LinkedIn the other day. My best friend had a baby just over a year ago. He's an incredibly cute, gorgeous little boy. But when this baby was born, we bought it a gift. We bought a gift like collectively as friends prior to when the baby was born. Then there was the baby shower. Then there was the christening, so I had to buy some nice attire and a christening gift. And then recently there was his first birthday. And I made a joke around the pub table about how much I've spent on the child. And one of my friends laughed and started talking about it, and then this conversation started randomly about, well, how much do you think it costs every time somebody has a baby? And I let my friends talk about this naturally, and I was just sat there listening. I literally got my phone out and I wrote down the idea. I went to a client the next day and I pitched the idea to them, and that idea went live and built me 50 links, because the campaign that we were talking about was something natural. It was a natural conversation that people would read and share and engage with and talk about. It's not forced. At that moment when that idea was created, I wasn't thinking like a marketer. I was just thinking, just talking with my friends. Another campaign that I've recently done was around a TikTok rich list. Now, this one is a little bit hypocritical because this is actually taken from a PR trend. We know that rich lists work really well. But actually, this campaign started just by watching two of my friends on a WhatsApp group talk about how much money they think they could earn if they joined TikTok, selling sponsored posts, etc. And it was just at that moment I thought, I'm going to bring this to a client, see if I can get it signed off. And I did get it signed off, and 90 links later, I have a successful campaign in my hands. When you're thinking of PR ideas, it's sometimes best to try and lose that marketing mindset and just think like a customer. Just be the customer. Once you've taken that idea and you've got that idea signed off and you're about to execute or outreach that for link building or brand awareness or whatever it is you're trying to achieve, that's when you need to start thinking like a marketer. So there is a difference between just throwing good content out there and hoping that it works and being quite strategic in your outreach approach. I can 100% assure you that the best link builders I have worked with and the team that I am building around me at connective3 hustle hard. They work hard to deliver the coverage. Sometimes you'll go out with an idea and it will just blow up and it will be huge success, and you'll spend half your time finding new mentions, turning them into links, finding new links, recording them, and not actually doing as much outreach. And that's the perfect scenario to be in. But often it's the case where you have to really work, really go for it. I had a client recently and we were doing a campaign for them around gaming, online gaming. And where in the UK was the best place to be a gamer in terms of broadband speed and bandwidth and all that kind of jazz. And, the campaign was doing pretty well. Overall, it was a success at the end. But halfway through the campaign, I read an article on Hull University's site. and it talked about a similar study. So I got on the phone to the university's press office. I built a relationship. I explained our kind of report and how they complemented each other. I really, really hustled. And next thing I know, I've got a link on a .ac UK domain, which is obviously hugely beneficial. Some of the most successful campaigns that I have ever worked on did not start well. They start by ringing people. You have to tweet people. You have to look for people who've covered similar articles. You have to connect with people who work within businesses, who blog on their site. You have to... I got a link the other day in America on apartment therapy, a huge domain. Just by talking to somebody on LinkedIn, I knew that they would potentially write about the story, but I was talking to them, I shared a common interest with them, we backed and forth for a little while, then I sold into them and the story went live. I hustled hard to get that placement. You can think like a marketer at that moment. You need to understand where will, where won't link, who will not follow, how to sell it in, how to ask for a link, all these kind of strategic things that go in the back of your mind. It's not as easy as just emailing people. But take that marketer's hat off when you're thinking of the ideas. Don't do that. Think like a customer. That is where the best ideas come from. Okay? I'm not saying, by the way, I'm really keen to say this, I'm not saying that link building should just be the creative campaigns and you shouldn't think like a marketer. When you're doing things like link reclamations, when you're doing things like broken link building, when you're doing things like proactive and reactive comments and things like that, yes, you need to think like a marketer. But when you're thinking of creative campaigns, you just need to think like the person who you're trying to get in front of. Try and take that marketer's mindset off and put it back on when you're outreaching. That's kind of how I'm trying to train the team at the moment, and it's been successful so far. But yeah, keen to hear your thoughts. It's something not overly talked about in the industry, about trying to forget everything that we've learned within our careers to think of a cool concept. But yeah, drop me a line on Twitter or on LinkedIn, or come through to the connective3 site. But I hope you're all safe and well, and thanks for listening.